215. Today we are going to continue our course, which is refrigeration charging method. This is part 2. Last time we have talked about refrigeration charging part 1, and now we are going to see part 2. First of all, we are going to start with charging methods. Remember, I have two methods of charging. The first one is liquid charging and the second is vapor charging. We are going to discuss each one of these in details. By starting from vapor charging, it is mainly used for small system. For small system, it is recommended to charge with vapor method, because it is the safest method one. It is the one which is the safest. Why is it called the safest? Because liquid refrigerant should not be introduced in the compressor. That is what it's called. It is called the safest method. As you see on this image, on this figure, we see that manifold is connected to the system at the high and low side of the system, and also cylinder is connected to the manifold, and during charging this high side of the system should be closed here, and also on low side this valve should be open to allow the refrigerant to pass from cylinder to the system. As you see, it is indicated with this highlighted color. The refrigerant leave from this cylinder, moving up on this way, and after reaching on the manifold, it has to pass through the low side of the system, moving from here and then continue to the system through the suction side of the compressor. And when the refrigerant leaves on this compressor, with the action of the compressor, with the action of this piston, the refrigerant leaves the compressor at the high pressure and high temperature, and then goes to the condenser, and then from condenser to receiver, from receiver to expansion at this one, and then from expansion to evaporator, and from evaporator back to the compressor. Hence, the circuit is completed. This is vapor charging method, and this is how you connect cylinder and manifold to the system. Let's now go on the next method, which is liquid charging. Liquid charging is mainly used for large system. For large system, charging with liquid refrigerant is the best choice. During charging large system, you have to use the liquid charging method. And then, as you saw on this figure, we see how manifold is connected. How manifold is connected. Also how cylinder is connected. Here for liquid charging, manifold should be connected on the receiver. As you see here, we have to add charging valve here on the receiver, and also this low side of the system should be connected to the low side of the system. This low side of the manifold should be connected to the low side of the system, as we know that this is high side and this is low side. And then during charging we can measure how is the pressure for high side and the pressure on low side. You can read it, no problem, by using these glass indicators. By looking the direction of the refrigerant during liquid refrigerant pass from this cylinder, moving up to the manifold through this valve, and when it arrives here, it has to pass through high side of the manifold, moving up on the servicing port connected to the receiver. And when the liquid refrigerant arrived here, it has to meet with the liquid which is circulating at this liquid line. Remember, this is liquid line and this is vapor line. And then from the receiver, moving up to this expansion device, and then from expansion device to the evaporator, and then from evaporator back to the compressor, where the compressor allow this refrigerant to circulate in all the system, and then from compressor to the condenser. As you see, this is also liquid charging method. As you see, there is some difference with vapor charging method, and after looking these two methods of charging, we are going to see also another diagram which explain more about this. You see here on this diagram, you see there is connection of manifold to the system and a vacuum pump also connected to the system. As you see, if the connection is done, it means that before performing any charging process, first of all you have to start with evacuation, as I have told you in the previous video. This is a vacuum pump connected to the manifold, and manifold also connected to the system. After connecting manifold, first of all, before starting running this vacuum pump, you have to close this valve of the manifold. High side and the low side should be closed, and then after connecting manifold to the vacuum pump, you have to open high side and low side of the manifold, so to allow vacuum pump to evacuate all the system at the high side and low side of the system. This valve should be open, and this one should be open during evacuation, and then when evacuation is complete, you have to close all the valve. High side and low side should be closed. After evacuation, these two valves should be closed in order to remove this vacuum pump. You have to close this, and then after removing vacuum pump, you bring also the refrigerant cylinder. In this case, we are going to charge with liquid refrigerant, and then this is the refrigerant cylinder, which is stand on the balance to indicate. The purpose of this balance is to indicate the how much or what is the quantity of refrigerant should be supplied to the system. That is the main role of this balance, to measure the quantity of refrigerant to be supplied to the system. And then after connecting this refrigerant cylinder, you have to open this high side of the system, because we are dealing with liquid charging. It means that we are going to use high side of the system. Then the refrigerant will pass from this cylinder moving up to the high side of the manifold, and then to the high side of the system, as you see on this chart. The refrigerant have to leave from this cylinder moving up to the manifold, passing through high side of the manifold and then to high side of the system, and then after reaching on the system, it has to fill all the system so as to have liquid refrigerant in our system. We have to use high side of the manifold connected to the high side of the system, and during the liquid refrigerant charging, this low side of the manifold should be closed, but also we are still reading the pressure on the low side of the system by using this gauge, and also at the same time we are able to read the pressure of the refrigerant on high side of the system by using this pressure gauge. Yes, I think this will be an addition to what we have seen in the previous video, and will help us to understand very clear the working of refrigeration and how refrigerant get into the system. Finally, we are going to see the animation which will explain how liquid refrigerant is charged, and also the connection of equipment to the system. As you see, we have manifold which has to be connected to the system. First of all, we will start by connecting vacuum pump. Those are servicing valve. Then that is vacuum pump. Connected to the manifold, which is closed, both valve high and low. High pressure to the system of the high pressure of the manifold to the system, and low side of the manifold to the low side of the system. Then evacuation, as well as open all the valve of the manifold high and low. Then evacuation is done, as you see on this animation. Then evacuation is finished, as you see. Close all the two valve with the manifold and remove vacuum pump. Then have to blink refrigerant cylinder, as you see. Then open high side of the system to allow refrigerant to pass to the high side of the system, as shown in the figure. So this is the charging method by using liquid refrigerant. I think this is very clear and showing how refrigerant is and the behavior of refrigerant in the system, as well as the gauge also indicate the pressure of refrigerant at high and low side of the system. Thanks for watching. Your motivation is a great support. If you have any problem or anything to tell me, leave it in the comment below. Subscribe for more videos, like, share and comment. Thanks. Be blessed.